Welcome to The Radiant Life with Tatiana. I am your host, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create the best life possible. I'm a master mindset coach, breathwork facilitator, and a passionate little Latina who loves sharing the magic behind your subconscious mind and energetics. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, learn all about spirituality and manifestation, and to be inspired in making a change to embody your best self, you are in the right place. My goal is for you to see and unlock your limitless potential, to have the tools to break free from the chains holding you back so you can create and live your most radiant life. I am so excited to have you here listening today. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast, to a very special episode because I am pregnant and I can finally share that with you, and I'm so excited to. If you don't follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube, then yes, this is the first time you're hearing the news that I am 16 weeks pregnant. So excited. I shared on our social medias a few days ago the big announcement, and we're just soaking it all up. We love all the love that we've been receiving. And yeah, that's where I've been the last few months. I know I came on here in the beginning of the year saying I'm ready to come back and podcast. I showed up on my Instagram story saying I miss talking to you and sharing my life with you. I'm going to come back. And then bam, a few days later, I find out I'm pregnant. I went back into a hermit mode because I just needed some time to process and digest the news and really experience my first trimester. But here we are. We are in second trimester, and I'm just so excited to just share this part of my life with you, bring you along for the journey. And as we step into this next chapter of becoming a mom and dad, like this is new territory for us, and we're just so excited. So as you can tell by the title of this podcast episode, I want to share the story with you of us getting pregnant and finding out, because I think it's a very divine, wild little story, and then answer some questions that I was getting. I put a questions box on Instagram, so I want to answer all of those for you. But let's just dive in. I'm going to start with our story, and I'll knock out some questions of like, were we trying? How did I know? How did I tell Evan? XYZ as I tell the story, and then we'll go into the specific questions you guys asked. So first one, no, we were not trying. We weren't not trying. Like we weren't preventing it for like the first time, but no, we were not trying. Our plan was to start conceiving on our honeymoon in Greece. And after that, which we just got back from, love Greece. If you haven't gone, please go. It's amazing. And our plan really was we were doing a lot of prenatal prep. So yes to that question. And a few things that we were doing was really educating ourselves, like January and a few months before, listening to podcast episodes. I was reading books. I was reading 9 Months Is Not Enough, which I highly recommend every woman read that book. Whether you're trying to conceive in a month or 5 years from now, read that book, educate yourself. It's super informative because it really does take more than 9 months to really create a baby. Like your health 6 to 12 months prior from conceiving truly matters. So I was reading that. We lived naturally a healthy and low tox lifestyle, but we were doing a little cleanses post wedding and travel. Evan was doing a few extra things like not going in the sauna, not going in hot tubs for sperm health. I was doing like a liver detox just because I had like some separate, not related side effects, symptoms that I was experiencing. And just really making sure like our bodies were in optimal place. We started taking prenatals in January. We both were. I didn't even know they made men's prenatals until I started looking for it. So we use the brand Parallel, which I absolutely love. And then I went to my first midwife appointment early mid-January just to talk about preconception, all that, what that would look like this year, and to start doing a round of blood work panels. In the book, they really emphasize the importance of doing certain blood work panels to really just get like a base level to know where you're at and where you can improve, right? You know, everything matters when it comes to your conceiving journey, not only your hormones, but your stress levels and your thyroid. And so that was really important to me. So that's what we were doing. We knew we wanted to conceive this year. We just thought it was going to happen later in the year. Joke's on us. But yeah, let's get into the story part because there's like two parts to it, which is crazy to me. So first, we're doing all this in January, end of the month. I felt very convicted by the Lord to stop trying to avoid pregnancy and to stop all forms of protection. So I shared that with Evan. And he was on board. He's like, if you feel that from the Lord, then okay. Like, I'll trust your lead on that. And it just felt so strong. Like, I just felt like I kept hearing the Lord say to me, stop blocking my blessings. And it really touched my heart. It was a saying I actually heard a year or two prior from my friend's friend who had a very similar situation. And it just felt so true to me because, like, we're married, we have a home. Why are we trying to avoid or, I don't know, like being in too much of control, like of our flesh, like when it would happen? And we were just like, okay, you know what? Like, we surrender. We'll let it be in God's hands right now. And we weren't going to actively like have sex when I was ovulating and like plan that out. But we were just like, we're just going to live our lives. We'll have fun and whatever God's plan is. If he wants us to have a baby now, great. If not, it'll happen later, which we really didn't think that was a part of his plan, but joke's on us, right? They always say, if you want to laugh, tell God your plans. But yeah, we thought nothing of it. I had a 0.5 second thought of like, did God want me to just get pregnant right now or this month? But then it just went in one thought out the other. We were just so focused on raising the puppy because we just got whiskey and so yada, yada, yada. So then kind of going into part 2, it's like January 30th, 31st, end of the month. I get my period 10 days early, which absolutely never happens to me. So I got a little worried and frustrated because it messed up my whole blood work panels because they want to test your blood on day 3 and day 21 of your cycle. And so I was supposed to go in that next day and it just like threw everything off. I had to restart, kind of a pain in the butt. But it's all good. So February comes and goes. You know, I do all my blood work. I'm tired and stressed. I'm raising this puppy, just having fun, living life. You know, the stress of the puppy, I like went into February just being like, I feel a little disconnected with Evan. Just want to connect with him. Let's have some fun. Like, I don't know, like living life. And I say fun because I just want to emphasize this because every time people asked us, when do you guys want to try? Like, to try for a baby, try to conceive. I would always tell them, we're just going to have some extra fun during and after the honeymoon. And I was really intentional with how I worded that part of our future season because if you know me, if you listen to the podcast episode, if you've been a client of mine, like trying isn't a thing. You're either doing it or you're not, right? Like you're either actively doing what you need to do to conceive a baby or you're not, right? And so like I always say that I don't like the word try. And I remember in one of my programs, my old mentor saying, you know, our words have power to them. They don't just describe our reality, they create it. And he's like, stop saying we're trying to conceive. We're trying. Because like trying is nothing. He's like, just say you're on your conceiving journey. You're conceiving, like declare it. Speak that into existence that you are going to conceive. You don't know when, but you are, right? And so that always just like that, I heard that maybe 3 years ago, always stuck in my mind. But even then I was like, yeah, our conceiving journey will start in like May, but I just wanted to have no pressure around the whole thing. I've just seen a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves, XYZ. So I was just said like we were having fun. So I don't know. I just had to like put that in there. I hope that lands for somebody, whether it's now or near future. But anyways, February came and gone, stressed with the puppy, but we were just having fun and just like living life and being newlyweds. So did my blood work. At the end of the month, my midwife calls me and she's like, blood work is looking good. We did not catch ovulation. So it either happened earlier or later than we expected, which kind of makes sense because my cycle got messed up the month before. So I was like, okay, but I did get a little like upset and worried. Also because a few weeks prior, because of some other symptoms I was having, she just like loosely drops like, well, maybe you're not ovulating. And I don't know. I was just emotional because like this was a season now that I'm ready, and to hear those words, and I've just seen a lot of people struggle. I was like, you know, I got upset in my head, but whatever. So then here comes March, the week that everything changed. So the first week of March comes, and like little backstory, like I track my cycle using multiple apps because I don't think they're all accurate. My cycle's not like every 30 days. I even was starting to track in my own private spreadsheet, like my basal body temperature and just other things to really understand my body more, to know like when I would ovulate in other parts of my cycle, just so that when we were ready to start conceiving, I would know when to do it. Joke's on me, right? So whatever, I'm doing that. I look at some of my apps and some of them say I'm late and some say I'm not. Again, because like my cycle was messed up the month before. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll wait a few days. I was already kind of getting some like period symptoms. My boobs were very swollen and very painful, which is a very early pregnancy symptom. But also that was a symptom I've had before my cycle comes. It's happened in the past. It actually happened in January again, which got me concerned because it is a symptom of having low progesterone levels for me. So that's again why I was getting blood work, and I just thought my period was going to come. And then I was getting like a little crampy. Mind you, I don't know when this happened. I think this was before I was actually late. I did have 2 dreams. I got asked that question. One dream, I took a pregnancy test. It was a negative. And another dream, I took a pregnancy test and it was a positive. So I don't know, intuitively, maybe I guess I knew, but I just like didn't even really read into it until it said I was 4 days late from my period, one of the apps. So I was like, okay, this is weird. But that night I got really crampy and I was like, oh, it's definitely coming tomorrow. We're good. Next day came and it was not here. So then I was like, okay, it's time to take a test. So I took an HCG like test. It's not like a digital pregnancy test. It was one that came in my ovulation strip tests. That was a package I got earlier that week, and the line was very, very faint, and I did not think anything of it because I know people who've had a very faint line and were not pregnant. I do know some people that had a very faint line and were pregnant, but I was like, no, there's no way. Whatever. I was like, let me take another one in a day or two if I don't get my period. Still didn't get it. So Friday, 2 days later, I take another one and it was still very faint. And at this point, I was like, okay, I just want to know, like, what's going on with my body? Is something deeper going on, or am I pregnant? And we were also going to Sarasota that weekend. So I was like, I just want to know if I can have a drink. I want peace of mind. So I ran to the store. I got a digital pregnancy test, came home. I told Evan I was about to take it. Poor Evan, because he was having a very stressful day of work, lots of meetings. And, I was like, do you want me to take it with or without you? And he's like, I want to be with you. The poor guy was in between meetings when we took the test. So whatever, you pee on the stick, I pull it out and it says pregnant. And bam, that's how we found out. And we were so shocked. So shocked, you guys. Like, I couldn't even post a full video of our reaction of finding out because it's literally 10 minutes of us standing there at each other at the pregnancy test in just disbelief and shock. Obviously, like, we cried a little bit and we hugged and we were excited, but I was also like, wait, is this for real? We were just so shocked. And we were just so shocked because, one, we weren't actively trying, right? Like, I was tracking things and I didn't think we did it when I was ovulating. We were also like, wow, this is like the first month we were just kind of like loosey-goosey, having fun, not preventing, and then bam, it happens like that easily. Because, we know a lot of people that it hasn't been that fortunate and it didn't get to happen that easily for them. So it just felt very wild. But then, this is what's more wild to me, this part. So flash forward a few weeks, you find out, you put it in your apps. They're like, oh, okay, you're 5 weeks pregnant. This is your due date. This is obviously when you conceived based on your last cycle. So cool. Then we went into our first ultrasound. I was actually 7 weeks. Baby was running a little small, so I had to go back for a second one 2 weeks after just to track and make sure everything was okay. And that's where we confirmed that baby was looking good, but actually I was 1 week behind pregnant, meaning when I found out I was pregnant, I was actually 4 weeks pregnant, not 5 weeks. And I wasn't even actually 5 weeks, but 5 weeks on paper, right? 4 weeks on paper. The way it works is they track it based on the last day of your cycle. So technically 4 weeks pregnant, 2 weeks from conceiving. And so whatever. So they calculate a new due date and they tell me like, so this is when you conceived. It was actually 1 week after we thought. And so I will go home and like I look at my spreadsheet because I was just tracking absolutely everything. And this is the wild part, you guys. When they said we conceived based on the baby's size and everything is when I got my blood work done, which is when my midwife called and said, your blood work does not show that you ovulated, like high or low peak levels. Like we had totally missed it. But then now you're telling me that I'm pregnant. So this really solidified the fact that we truly don't know how this happened. It's wild. It's crazy. And I just tell everyone, like, this truly was a God-given thing, a God gift. He wanted this and he delivered. And it's just a part of our plan and God's timing. Because let me tell you, we weren't really prepared. And that's totally something, like, I did feel out of control when I found out. Because, like, we had a plan. This wasn't a part of the plan. But it's really God's blessing. And I do want to preface here, because I don't want you to hear, I know a lot of people, and maybe you too, like maybe your conceiving journey isn't going how you thought it would, or as smoothly or as easily. And my heart is out there for you. We have friends that are taking months, if not years. And I don't want you to hear me say like, oh, God wanted it for you, so he delivered it so fast, so that means like it must not be for me or part of my plan. No. I truly believe this is God's intent for everybody, and I just think he has a better timing than we ever know. I know people that eventually when they conceive, it all makes sense of like why it happened when it did versus when they wanted it to happen, and they're so grateful for it. And so again, if that is you, I pray for you. My heart goes out to you, and just know your time is coming. And God wants that for you too. It just may be at a different time because we don't know everything, right? So yeah, that is our story. I think it's crazy because literally the month before January, I felt this huge conviction of like stop avoiding pregnancy, stop blocking the blessings. I had that thought of like, did God want me to get pregnant right now? And then literally the next month, the next cycle of when I could have gotten pregnant, I actually got pregnant. And like then it just doesn't make sense. Like then I get pregnant and I conceived when my blood work says I wasn't ovulating. It's just like a very no human can plan this out type of thing for us. So that's the story. That's how we found out, and it's just so special. So let me dive into the questions. Let me take a sip of water first. Okay, questions. So when is my due date? I'm not going to share the actual date just because I just don't want to get bombarded with messages from friends, family, DMs of, how's the baby? Is the baby here? Like, no, I just can't do it. I've seen it happen to too many people, but I will say it's mid-end November. Okay, I really want to answer this one. Well, I'm going to answer all of them, but there's two that like really stuck out to me. So one was, how did y'all know you were ready? I feel ready, but I also want to be a stay-at-home mom, and money is a worry for me. I don't think you will ever feel ready. And I say that because every parent I speak to always says you will never be 100% ready, whether it's mentally, emotionally, financially, like you will never feel 100%. But I think it's just like you have to look at yourself and your partner. And for me, this is where our relationship with God comes in. It's like, can you trust in God's plan? Can you trust that if it's meant to be for you, it will? And if it's not, it won't happen at that time, right? I really believe that God will provide because he always has provided. And, the Bible says, like, be fruitful and multiply. And the Lord really does. I've seen a lot of people, they were struggling financially and then they get pregnant. Getting pregnant is like the closest you will ever get, I think, to God in heaven, because it's so spiritual. And then their business took off, or their partner got a promotion. Like, I really just do believe that God does provide, if you believe that and have faith in that. And so I guess my answer to you is we weren't fully ready. And let me tell you, when we found out, we panicked. There was fear. There was like out of control. Like, no, not yet. Like, rewind. We were excited, but it felt so out of control because we didn't feel ready. But then we just had to kind of come back to reality and be like, if this wasn't meant for us, it wouldn't have happened. Like I always say, like, what's meant for you won't pass you. Same thing. So I think just trusting, like, can you trust in God's plan? And can you just evaluate, like, have a conversation with your partner and just say, like, where are we at? How many kids do we want? How old are we? Where are we at financially right now? Do we feel grounded? And my mom always says this, and she said it to all of her cousins and her friends and her whatever, is like, just close your eyes and take the risk, right? Like, when I closed my eyes and quit my corporate job and moved to Florida, like, it somehow made sense. And I don't know the whole plan. I'm still freaking out now. I don't even know how I'm going to balance my business and this. Like, I don't know what it looks like, but I'm just taking one step at a time. So can you do that too? And trust that maybe once you're pregnant, sorry, I just had a weird microphone issue. Don't know what happened. But what I was saying was maybe once you do get pregnant, something will miraculously happen for you, your partner, your finances, that will give you that confirmation, that grounding, that will allow you to be that stay-at-home mom that you desire, but allowing yourself to just take that leap of faith and just have fun and really trust in God's plan. If it's meant to happen for you next month, it will happen. If it's not, it will happen when it's meant to for you. I hope that answers that question and gives you love. Sorry, I'm just like reading some things. Okay, I want to address this one. I just found out I'm pregnant. How did you move through the fear of miscarriages or complications? Whew. I'm not going to lie. The first trimester is a lot. The first 2 months is a lot. And I would be lying to you to say I didn't have any fear, because I had moments of, I'm not an anxious person anymore. I would have anxiety. I would have fear. I would start crying and get very emotional. And it wasn't okay. And the fear and those possibilities are obviously a thing. However, like, we don't want fear to control us. And I will say, like, one thing that was really triggering this fear for me, before I share how I moved through it, was social media. I'm all for people having a space to share their voice and share their story. And I never realized it just was like really, it was bad timing for me, because for a 2-week span, I went on social media and people I just followed, whether like influencers or just people I knew, there was like 4 or 5 like miscarriages and they were opening up. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I see these on social media before, but like, it's never been this much. Or maybe I just haven't been as aware of it because now I'm pregnant. And it was very, very triggering. And I know there's an importance of them being able to share their story and have space held for them. And at the same time, for newly pregnant women, like, it is really scary to see that and then think that that's going to happen to you, especially when there's barely trigger warnings. Like, that's one thing that really irritated me, was not having a trigger warning or just having a TW. And then you're just like going into such detail. Like, it's just a lot. And especially if you're newly pregnant, like, you're already hormonally this. So my biggest tip with overcoming maybe that fear is I wish I stayed off social media overall. And just, I dove into books, but I was still like scrolling a little bit, because that would have lessened my fear of everything, because I wasn't seeing it actually happen to other people. And then the second thing I did is I actually got help. I would pray and I would go and like just talk to God, and that would help me in the moment. But there were some deeper things. And so I actually got help. So my small group church circle, it's like therapy, but with the Holy Spirit, I guess is what you could say. They're called soul care sessions. And so I went to her and I was like, I need help. And we just did some deeper healing work. Let God like take the fear away and then fill me up with peace and reassurance. And you could do this like with a journaling practice, with you closing your eyes and just talking to God, like just give those fears to him, because like he's the Prince of Peace, and fear and anxiety are not of him. And so I had to get help. Yeah, I did actually get help, and I felt 1,000 times better, because in that session, what she said to me, she was like, it's their story, but that's not your story. And when you're getting in fear and you're playing that possibility in your head, you're kind of declaring their story as being a part of your story, right? Like your words have power to it, type of thing. And so it's like, stop making it seem like that's your story. So every time a thought would come in, I'd be like, that's not my story. God has a different story planned for me. And that wasn't saying like my story is going to be perfect, but stop thinking if it happened to somebody else, it's going to happen to me, right? Like, what if I kept focusing on the success stories? So a few other things I did, I started searching pregnancy announcements and gender reveals, so that my algorithm was showing me more positive stories than the things that were showing up, because it just like was really heavy for me. I did have to mute somebody's story just because, of course, they're sharing their experience on their story, but like it just kept showing up, and I didn't want to see it. But the other thing that was so powerful for me is I wrote a prayer. So I actually went on ChatGPT and I asked for some Bible scriptures, and even a prayer to pray over me and the baby and the pregnancy to overcome fear. And it was honestly ChatGPT. It's kind of scary, ChatGPT, but it was so helpful. So, and so every time, in the morning I would pray over us. At night, Evan prays over us. And then when I would have that thought, that fear, I would say like, that's not of the Lord. That's not a part of my story. And then I would go and find like that declaration or an affirmation or read that prayer over me and just take a few deep breaths and just trust the process. And again, that wasn't me being naive, meaning like, oh, it's not going to happen to me because I'm saying it's not my story. But it was just me not, essentially, I don't want to say manifesting it because that's not the word, but like not over fixating it, right? Because like where our attention goes, energy flows. And I just didn't want my attention going there and creating more fear or anxiety for me. Okay, those were like 2 really important questions I really wanted to address. I hope those helped. Okay, what's been my biggest symptoms and any food cravings or aversions? Those are common questions. So my biggest symptom, I'm so blessed because I've had a few moments of nausea, but I'm not getting like heavy pregnancy symptoms. I've had a little bit of nausea, especially if I'm not eating frequently enough, and I'm finding if it doesn't consume protein, that morning sickness kicks in and I get queasy. However, I have not puked. I'm not waking up nauseous. I've been really, really lucky. So I would say that. And then my main pregnancy symptom is exhaustion. Like I've never been a person that naps. Like I don't know. And I nap every day. Like I can't do anything. There's some moments where I like literally can't get off the couch. Like I was like, oh my God. And that was actually really mental for me to like overcome like the unproductive thoughts and laziness. And I'm like, I'm not lazy. I'm not unproductive. I'm growing a human being. Like the first trimester took so much out of me. And I'm week 16 right now. And I don't know why the exhaustion is still there. So that's been my biggest symptom. I haven't had any food, like crazy food cravings or like weird wild ones. If anything, especially in the first trimester, it was a lot of carbs. Like I would say a big food craving was I wanted bagel sandwiches every morning, like an everything bagel with fried eggs and cheese. Like that was my jam. That tasted so good. And lots of carbs. So pasta, pizza, and I had to like force myself to get the protein in. I tried staying really consistent with the foods I was eating before just to make sure I was, consuming all of my nutrients, right? So like smoothies and veggies and proteins and healthy fats. I had like a time where I really wanted peanut butter and jelly or macaroni and cheese, just like old school comfort food, but nothing super crazy. I would say fruit is another one. You'd think, being who I am, I have a very big sweet tooth. I'm actually surprised I haven't had like massive sweet cravings. Like sometimes I'm like, I'll have an ice cream or chocolate, but I'm not like fiending for it, which I always thought I would when I was pregnant. So I don't know. We'll see. And then any food aversions, like some of my natural, like healthy protein food, like meat, like doesn't really sound that appealing, like chicken, but like I'm eating it and just find a way to make it taste good. My biggest food aversion though has been coffee. Like I got decaf espresso the weekend I found out I was pregnant, and then I have not been able to have coffee since. Like my body doesn't want it. The smell of Evan's espresso has made me gag before. Not fun. So those have been my cravings and food aversions. Okay, let me see some other ones. Okay, are you reading any books for during and pre? So like I said, yes. This person asks, like, I'm on my TTC journey. Let's change the TTC journey. Like, let's on my, like, I don't know, healthy conception body journey. I don't know. Okay, so 9 months is not enough. Definitely read that book. I'm just finishing up Real Food for Pregnancy. There's also a version of the author has for Real Food for Fertility, which I was going to get to, but I never did. That's a great one just to really understand like why they're saying not to eat certain foods, and kind of really breaks down, why they said that, from is it outdated, and you can kind of make your own judgments on that. There's another book called Expecting Better. It's like an economist wrote it. So like, again, typical like pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, XYZ, all these things you go through pregnancy. It covers food a little bit. It's just giving you the actual data and the science and like what research from it. So again, to help you make your own conclusions to see what's best for you and your pregnancy and your family. I'm reading this, I think it's called like Mama Natural book. It's just like a week by week book. I'll link these in the description below, by the way. And that's just like week by week book of like what's going on with the baby and your body. I love that. I just bought 2 books, Supernatural Childbirth. It's like essentially like giving birth, laboring with God, and Ina May's A Guide to Childbirth. Those were recommended by doulas. Just, I've heard phenomenal things. If you're trying, I am trying to go for an unmedicated birth. Just like being in the right headspace, like this is like a marathon, you guys, like to give birth. So I'm trying to train and get my mind and get educated. So those are the books I'm reading. I have the apps, The Bump, and I was doing Pre-Mom, but The Bump is great. I was just recommended to do What to Expect app or Pregnancy Plus app, but I don't know. I don't want too many apps. So The Bump has been it for me. Do we know the gender? No, we do not. We find out end of June. Am I going to be sharing the gender? Yes, I will be sharing the gender with you guys. So make sure you're following me on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube and Facebook, because I'll share it there. Probably not on the podcast unless I like drop it in an episode. I did that. Do you know the gender yet? Has Whiskey been acting different? Does Whiskey know? I think was what they were asking. No, he does not. Like he doesn't know. Like when I've been very emotional, I guess that's another symptom. Like he'll like look at me and like give me a kiss, but like he's just such a baby still. He's such a puppy that I don't think he knows yet. I think maybe when my belly gets way bigger and he gets older, maybe he will know, but nope. Okay, I answered that one. Cool. I think I answered all of these. There's a lot of repeats. Yeah. If I missed one, you guys can always send me a DM and ask away. But I'm so excited to be able to bring you along this journey with me, this next chapter, becoming a mommy. I'm in the middle of building my registry. So if you're a mama and you have like, you must need this, or I regret this, or I wish I had this, send me a DM, send me an email, please, because it's a lot. And yeah, stay tuned. I don't really know what life's going to look like, business is going to look like, podcast is going to look like as I become a mama. I obviously have some episodes that I had brainstormed, so I'm assuming and plan to record those as I'm pregnant. And then after that, we'll see, maybe mom content, maybe bringing some more guest speakers. Either way, I'm just glad to have you guys here and a part of the ride, and I just appreciate all your love and support. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have the most amazing day, and I'm sending you so much love. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to share it with me and write an Apple iTunes review so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't already following me, you can find me on Instagram at Tatiana_Kuto. Make sure to tag me in any posts that you share. I love and appreciate you so much and cannot wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and radiate your light into the world.